Good afternoon, everyone. You might want to move forward a little bit. Bring those little ones with you. Need some cheers. So I got a big group behind me of legislators who have made this happen, and you're going to hear from them in a couple minutes. I just want to kick it off before we turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor, then to the majority, the sponsors of the legislation, and then the majority leaders in the House and the Senate. We have other speakers as well. This is a good day for Delaware, don't you think? It's really good for everyone when you think we could get it done, as you all know. And so I want to publicly thank Senator Mcbride and Representative Heffernan for their approach. This is the way it's supposed to happen. This is why I'm proud to be a Delaware elected official and public servant. They were collaborative. They made thoughtful compromises. They listened. They reached out to stakeholders and those affected on every side of the issue. They communicated. They were straight shooters from the beginning. And that's why, in my opinion, we're able to stand here today to become one of the first states to offer this benefit. Thank you, and congratulations to both of you. There are also a number of members of my team that I'd like to recognize and thank because they were an important part of that back and forth process. And you know, the devil's always in the details. And these are the folks who dealt with those details. Not sure if they're all here. I did see some of them, but Secretary Carol Hubbard is the Carol. Great job. A lot of hard work to go. Right? So we know who's going to do that and get it done from here. Secretary Geisenberger was amazing throughout this. Where's Rick? Is he here? Not here to take his congratulations. But he was really thoughtful and amazing, and legislators know he is attentive to detail, as we know. Claire DeManius, Secretary DeManius, I don't know that she is here either, but she was incredible. And last but not least, the big man, Director Cade. I don't think he's here with us either, but without him and his team, all the infrastructure we need doesn't get done. I'd also like to recognize and thank Sheila Grant, who worked to keep this team together and did a lot of communication with the sponsors of the legislation. I'd like also to take the opportunity to thank the business leaders across our state who engaged throughout the process. So many of them think of their employees as family, and we know that they want to do the best by way of their family. We also know that running a business is really hard to make sure that you can pay the bills and your employees. But I, like all the legislators behind me and so many in our business community, believe strongly that the interests of business owners and their employees are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're inextricably related. Policies that are good for workers are, in my view, by definition, good for business. This legislation will be a game changer for families and businesses up and down our state. 4 years ago, the state led the way as our largest employer by offering 12 weeks of leave to new parents. It's been really helpful for those parents. Now parents in almost every line of work will have the same benefit. Just as important, certainly more important for people who are taking care of aging parents or other loved ones, will also be able to keep their jobs and get a paycheck at the same time. I've got 8 brothers and sisters. We have a 91-year-old mother who's wonderful. It takes all of us to make sure that she gets what she needs. And that's why this bill is going to be so important for people who are doing it on their own, by themselves. These are real issues that almost every Delawarean will face at one time or another in their lifetime. And when I think about the last 2 years, if there's anything good that will come out of it, I think it's a strong reminder of what's important to all of us, what really matters. And I'm proud to be the governor of a state that's good for business and good for families. And so let me conclude by thanking again the sponsors who were amazing, the way they reached out, the way they listened, the way they adjusted the legislation to meet the needs and concerns of so many. And with that, next up is our Lieutenant Governor, Bethany Hall Long.
Thank you, Governor. As you stated, it is an honor to be here with so many incredible partners, community leaders, and Governor, you're right. A healthy community, healthy economy ties greatly into what this bill is about today. Healthy, strong families makes Delaware strong. And to our incredible bill sponsors and to all the members of the General Assembly who are present, who championed this through the years, and our Women's Advocacy Office, we are so incredibly proud to be here joining you today. I have to say also, as I look out here at the audience, we have, Governor, a weave of individuals. We have our unions, we have our ARP, we have our nonprofit communities. We know that together, when we are strong for families, whether it be a medical leave, or as myself, I've experienced that phone call in the night with a spouse who has to leave in the next morning on a military duty mission and call. This is a game changer, and I thank so much our Senate Leader Mcbride here today for her leadership, as well as Representative Heffernan. And you're going to hear from a moment from our Majority Leader and others, our Treasurer, who's going to be updating us on some of the other specifics of the bill. But at the end of the day, this is the weave. Delaware will set and continue to be a model. And to the other cabinet secretaries who recognize, Governor, the importance and have joined us, our Secretary McGarrick of Health, our Secretary Garvin, Secretary Holodick, they know from our state's example, when we uplift and support our families and our employees, we are stronger. And again, thank you to our union leaders and others who've joined us today. We know you've been championing these issues for decades. And so today, I will be brief and just say thank you for coming out to support the game-changing piece of legislation that will indeed help Delaware be stronger and healthier. And with that, the woman who met with you, listening tours with Representative Heffernan up and down the state, negotiating with business, negotiating with families to get it right. I will turn that over now to Senator Sarah Mcbride, and then she'll turn it to Debbie Heffernan.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Hall Long, for that introduction and for your vocal advocacy for this legislation. Good afternoon, everyone. What a glorious day today is. And as we stand here just moments away from the final step in this bill's legislative journey, my heart is full of gratitude. When you serve as the prime sponsor of a bill like this, you see how small of a role you play as a sponsor in its eventual success. Over the last year and a half, we had a whole of government approach and a whole of Delaware conversation about this bill. And so I'd like to begin by expressing my gratitude to so many of the Delawareans who made today possible, and bear with me. First, I want to start by thanking my friend, the leader of this legislation in the House, Representative Deb Heffernan. From her leadership passing paid parental leave for state workers, to early conversations about this bill, to her stewardship in the House, SB 1 was truly a joint effort, and I am so grateful for her friendship and her leadership. I want to thank the bipartisan supermajority of the Delaware General Assembly that supported this bill, including every single one of my Democratic colleagues. That's right. So many of the folks standing here played a major role in this legislation, and I want to make sure I point out a few of them. I am eternally grateful to our Democratic leadership in both chambers for not only their strong support of this legislation, but for prioritizing it. Senators Townsend and Sokola and Representative Longhurst were fierce champions of SB 1 from the very start and helped guide me as a new legislator through this process. Speaking of new legislators, I came into this building with some of the most amazing people that I could have ever asked for, and the entire freshman class in both chambers played a huge role in this bill, and I especially want to thank my fellow Senate freshmen, Senator Pinckney, Senator Gay, and Senator Manzavinos, who are working with me on this bill literally days after we were elected. As I said, this has been really a whole of government approach, a truly collaborative effort between the legislative and executive branches. And I, of course, want to thank you, Governor, for your leadership and deep partnership on this bill. Your support and vision has been integral, and the role that Governor Carney played in this legislation cannot be overstated. He also mentioned some of the folks that I had the privilege of working with, and I have told him it's been an honor and a privilege working with his team, folks that I called Team Paid Leave, and I want to make sure that I also recognize Sheila Grant and Albert Shields from the governor's office, Secretary Hubbard and Deputy Secretary Turney in the Department of Labor, Finance Secretary Rick Geisenberger has arrived, so let's give him a round of applause now that he's here. Saran Cade and Brenda Wise in OMB, Melanie Ross Levin and Kim Lohman in the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy, and the whole team at DHR. I am in awe of these public, hey Saran, good to see you. I was going to say, easy to spot Saran. I am truly in awe of the incredible skill and thoughtfulness and commitment of the public servants in our executive branch, and I am so grateful to have been able to work with them. And in addition to our governor, we had strong champions in our lieutenant governor, our insurance commissioner, our state treasurer, and our attorney general, all of whom ensured that their offices provided necessary support and advocacy for this legislation. So let's give them a round of applause. I'm almost done. I'm almost on the list. Today is about families, and I'm proud that my mom and dad are here, who, like so many of you, had to deal with countless conversations with me about this bill. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank the Delawareans of all backgrounds who organized and mobilized to make today possible. Liz Richards, who passed this bill and had a baby in the exact same week, and the Delaware Cares Coalition deserve a special round of applause for their leadership. This whole of Delaware conversation, as the governor mentioned, included healthcare providers, labor and faith leaders, community advocates, employers, direct service nonprofits, dozens of organizations, and of course individual Delawareans across our state who lifted their voices to share their experiences. Throughout this effort, hardly a day went by that I didn't hear from Delawareans who either saw their life enhanced because they were one of the lucky ones who were able to access paid leave already, or more frequently, the Delawareans who, when facing the most human of challenges, were forced to choose between their job and their health, their family and their paycheck. Stories from new moms who were forced to go back to work just days after giving birth. Stories of parents fundraising online to make up for lost wages after their child was diagnosed with cancer. Stories of patients who had to forgo treatment or recovery in order to pay their rent or put food on the table. And to those Delawareans, today our government makes clear that we have seen your pain and we have heard your calls for change. As elected officials, we can't stop all loss or prevent every challenge, but we can make life a little bit easier for people when hard times hit. That's exactly what paid leave will do. That's what SB 1 does. It helps uphold that most Delaware of values, that in a state of neighbors we share a duty to care, to look out for one another when we need it most, to look out for each other's families like we do our own. Through collaboration and compassion, we are showing that small states can do big things. And because of everyone here, there will be generations of new parents who will be able to access time to spend with their new child. There will be family members who will be able to care for a loved one through a serious illness. There will be patients who will be able to get life-saving treatment. And with your signature, Governor, that layer of support, that breathing room, that time to care, it will no longer just be a matter of luck. Here in Delaware, it will be the law of the land. And now I have the privilege of turning things over to my friend, someone who, when I was first talking with her about trying to advance legislation, expanding paid leave to more Delawareans, and I was sort of thinking of the sort of smaller steps that we might be able to take to build up to this moment, she said, let's go for it all. And so I am proud to introduce my friend, Representative Deb Heffernan.
Well, thank you, Sarah, Senator McBride. I'm so excited to be here today, and I was just whispering with the governor, and we did it, and we did it together. So give yourselves a big cheer. Today we're confirming what many of us have known for a long time. Paid family leave is a right, not a perk, not something that's a nice-to-have benefit. It's essential to welcome a child, take care of a loved one that is sick or dying, and deal with a serious health issue. When my first child was born, who's now 28, I had to take short-term disability and then unpaid leave. By the time I had child 2 and 3, I left my full-time job because I couldn't afford to take unpaid leave and pay for childcare. No parent should have to make that decision. Having cared for my own mother in her final weeks, I can't imagine having to choose between caring for a loved one, facing a life-threatening illness, and going to work. It's an impossible decision between being a caretaker and protecting your career. The Healthy Delaware Families Act says that Delaware workers will no longer have to choose between their children, their family, their loved ones, and their health, and their job. It will give residents the security to take on these critical life situations and know that they don't have to sacrifice their career. Employers know that this is sound and compassionate policy, and that's why so many companies already have paid family leave. As the author of Delaware's paid parental leave program for all state workers and teachers, I'm thrilled to see us take the next step and fulfill the promise to workers across our state that we would provide this benefit to all of them. Lastly, I want to thank all the advocates who stood up, showed up, spoke up, and fought for this right. We're taking a bold step forward, and in a large part, it's due to you and your tenacity. And without that, we all wouldn't be here today. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our House Majority Leader Val Longhurst.
The governor asked me to pull the microphone down, and I'm listening. Hello, everyone. Out of all the week that we had, today is like the most beautiful day to sign this bill, is it not? So over the last several months, we've heard so many heartbreaking stories and statistics about the reality of working without the benefit of paid family and medical leave. But one that always stuck out to me was a quarter of the working mothers returned to work within 2 weeks of giving birth because they can't afford to go any longer without pay. 2 weeks is actually not enough for a new mother to heal, to build that special bond with her baby, or to adjust to the many life-altering changes that come with bringing in a new life into this world. Paid family and medical leave is a transformation policy that values our state workers as human beings first, as people who get sick, people who have children, people who need to care for their loved ones, and people who need to make ends meet while taking care of life's biggest challenges. This is truly a win-win solution that will empower workers to make their decisions that are right for their physical, mental, and emotional health, while leveling the playing field for employers and businesses of all sizes. I would like to personally thank Senator Sarah Mcbride. As a freshman legislator, you pick a piece of legislation that kind of sails through, but no, not Sarah. Not Sarah. She decided she was going to have the heavy lift. And I have to give you big kudos, Sarah. As a freshman legislator, you did your due diligence on this piece of legislation, and I thank you for your measured approach on making Delaware healthier. And I have to give a big shout out to my colleague, Representative Heffernan. Representative Heffernan, yes. She paved the way for this bill to be here today. It was her who started with state employees. And I have to tell you, when it came out, it wasn't very popular, but she stuck with it, and she worked with the governor's office, and she worked with the governor, and she got it passed, and it paved the way for today. And now we carried the torch to Sarah Mcbride, who made it happen. This is definitely one of the best days in Legislative Hall for me, to see such grace in navigating a bill. And I want to thank Governor. Governor, thank you so much for being a lead on this and making sure that this happened. Without you, we wouldn't have gotten it over the finish line. So thank you. And thank you to all my wonderful colleagues who voted for the bill that are standing behind us. It doesn't matter where you came from. It makes sense, and it's a game changer. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Senator Brian Townsend. I'm very privileged to be here on behalf of the entire Democratic caucus in the state Senate, who are thrilled for this day. We certainly are thrilled for the Delawareans who in the very short few years and then for decades to come are going to have entirely different experiences with their lives, with taking care of sick loved ones, with raising children, because of Senator Sarah Mcbride's tremendous efforts. Paragon of policymaking in her first months in office, leading to a transformational day like today, is not something that comes along very often. But Sarah is a true leader on this issue and on an inclusive process for how to try and make change. I know every one of my colleagues would love to tell our stories of the past many months of staying alongside Sarah and supporting this effort. On behalf of Senate leadership, Senator David Sokola, Senator Tizzy Lockman, on behalf of senators who were not elected in 2020 for the first time, Senator Nicole Poore, Senator Jack Walsh, Senator Laura Sturgeon, all of whom are behind me here, and our amazing freshman class. And Senator Mcbride mentioned this, Senator Manzavino, Senator Gay, Senator Pinckney, the three of them who came in as freshmen with Sarah and who from day one were fully supportive of her in a truly inspirational kind of freshman colleague way. It was beautiful to see. It was truly beautiful to see. But it does take slightly second fiddle to the beautiful nature of what's going to be happening in Delaware for years to come because of this legislation. So many thanks have been given and repeated, and they are all so deserving. Governor Carney, your staff, your cabinet, all the other stakeholders, elected officials, and the grassroots efforts that made today possible deserve chapters written about them, and I hope someone does that. There's so many stories to tell about how this all unfolded. It turns out that I can like brouhaha coffee more than I did before. That's just one example. And Sarah McBride already did this, but I'll do it again. I was going to say that this is only possible because of all of Sarah McBride's efforts, but all of Sarah McBride's efforts are only possible because of David McBride, Esquire, and Sal McBride, who are over here. Your guidance and nurturing to Sarah, and Sarah's guidance and nurturing to her colleagues and to stakeholders, shepherding this through the legislative process to today with Governor Carney's signature, absolutely historic, and the impact it has cannot be put into words. It's going to be wonderful to see the families who might never know about today, might never even know about Senator McBride's efforts, but whose lives are going to be so much better because of all of her dedication. Sarah, thank you so much for showing us the way and letting us be part of your journey. Thank you all for being here. Governor Carney, thank you so much for your support. Let's sign this. I will not forget the transition to the next speaker. We have Bettina Riveros, Chief Health Equity Officer for Christiana Care, an entity that was so supportive of this effort. Thank you so much, Bettina. Please.
Thanks so much, Senator Townsend, and all the elected officials and legislators here today, and to all of you. It's great to be here, an amazing day. And I just wanted to share a bit why Christiana Care, as Delaware's largest private employer, frankly supported the passage, leaned in on the Healthy Family, Delaware Families Act, SB 1, from the very beginning. We believe that this will be incredibly impactful for every Delawarean across the state. Having a healthy Delaware means a vital economy and healthy families and a healthy, supported workforce. And I'm sure all of you can appreciate we're leaning in to do everything we can to support our workforce. As a leading birthing hospital and one of the first organizations in Delaware to offer paid family leave, we're thrilled to support this bill. The research is clear. Paid leave gives parents time to bond with a new child, increases the duration of breastfeeding post-birth, and frankly reduces infant hospitalizations. None of us want to see Delaware infants hospitalized unnecessarily. We want them healthy, strong, and at home, and we want them to the support they need to keep them healthy. This bill will have positive impacts on reducing inequities for Delawareans who need it most, especially Black and Hispanic Delawareans in communities that often struggle with chronic health issues and health inequities at a higher rate than other populations. Many times, Delawareans in underserved communities don't have access to paid family and medical leave, and that means no access to the medical care that is essential to improving their health and removing the racial and ethnic disparities in health outcomes. This legislation goes a long way to advancing health equity for all Delawareans. We also believe that SB 1 will help by supporting and attracting healthcare workers to Delaware, especially when, as I said, healthcare workforce is a constant concern for hospitals. This is a strong next step to improving the health of Delaware families, making health access more broader and more equitable, and ensuring we have the workforce to meet the healthcare needs of Delawareans for years to come. Thanks to Senator McBride, Representative Heffernan, Governor Carney, and every legislator and state official who with bold leadership supported passage of this legislation to support healthier Delaware families and a vital economy. Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce Liz Richards. Liz?
It is an honor to be here today. Thank you so much, Governor Carney, for your leadership in bringing us to this moment. Thank you to our prime sponsor, Representative Heffernan, to the Senate and the House leadership, and as many have noted, a special thanks to Senator Sarah McBride, who dedicated hundreds and hundreds of hours to this bill. As we all know, this is a truly historic day. My name is Liz Richards, and I'm the director of the Delaware Cares Coalition. A little over a year ago, organizations from the health, faith, labor, and business community across our state joined together because they believed in one simple idea, that in life's most challenging moments and most joyful, no one should be forced to choose between their job and their family. This day is historic, but as the governor mentioned, it was not guaranteed. We had to fight for it. Because as the world has changed, too often we have failed to change with it. And too often the burdens of that changing world have fallen to the most vulnerable among us. People struggling through illness, caregivers forced out of a job they love or away from a loved one who needs them, parents who return to work after just a couple weeks from giving birth, mothers who put their bodies on the line because they had no paid family and medical leave. I now look at my daughter, Josephine, who's over there, born a little over 5 weeks ago, and I am profoundly moved by what this bill will mean to those parents and to every child born in Delaware in the years to come. What makes today's victory so sweet to me is not just that paid leave is smart policy or the right thing to do, it is, but what makes it so sweet is that the people who shouldered the burdens of an unfair status quo, caregivers, women, working people, people of color, survivors, healthcare workers, people with disabilities, and so many more, were the ones who delivered this victory for all Delawareans. Because of you and because of the lawmakers here today who listened and led alongside you, today we are rising to build a new future for our families. Thank you again to the leaders and lawmakers behind me here today and in front of me who showed the nation that Delaware cares. Thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to introduce one of those Delawareans who led, Sharonda Johnson, Strategic Partnerships Manager with COVID Survivors for Change.
Thank you, Liz. I am beyond thrilled and honored to be here today to witness our governor sign Senate Bill 1 into law. This is a historic moment for all of Delaware. Last week, I was honored to stand representing many families who lost loved ones to COVID, in partnership with the governor, the lieutenant governor, Senator Mcbride, and many other leaders in our state. We stood to remember how Delaware has been impacted by this pandemic. A few days later, our nation crossed a very somber milestone, 1 million Americans who've died of COVID. But today, I am here to celebrate. I'm celebrating and I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief. And I have to be honest, I'm actually more overcome with emotion today than I was last Tuesday. That's because I know that this bill will spare Delawareans from enduring some of the trauma, the nightmare and horror that my family endured while my dad was battling COVID back in August of 2020. You see, back when my dad died, I was one of only 4 family members, or 4 children, who did not have to work, and that's because I'm a disabled veteran. The only other sibling of mine that didn't have to work at the time was my sister, who was hospitalized too. Obviously, we can't change the past. Yet today, as we witness this bill's passage, we will change all of Delaware's future. We spare many families from needing to endure that same nightmare and trauma that my family walked through. So today, I'm elated, and I want to thank all of our state leaders, especially Senator Mcbride, Representative Heffernan, the governor, the lieutenant governor, everyone here. Thank you for your leadership, for your tireless work. Let's make Delaware safer and more economically secure. Let's sign this bill.
Governor, before you sit down, we're here. Please take it here. Okay. Put this there.
Folks want to come up?
Oh, my God.
labor action here. We got the right people that are in the right group. We got laborers doing this thing or what?
You're good.
Good.
Look, you got one.
I got my card.
All right, I'm good. I'm gonna put this on. Sal, get up here.
Joe! Make this one for Joe.
Yes.
I have before me, importantly, Senate Substitute Number 2 for Senate Bill Number 1 as amended by House Amendment Number 1. I mentioned that it was Senate Substitute Number 2 because there's a lot of work that went before that substitute. And frankly, it's the reason, Senator Mcbride and Representative Heffernan and to all your colleagues, that you're able to do a big thing today and make a real difference, as all our speakers have pointed out, for families and workers and businesses across our great state. And so it's a great privilege for me, as your governor, to affix my signature to Senate Substitute Number 2 for Senate Bill Number 1, as amended by House Amendment Number 1. We have to give it back. We'll make sure it gets processed. Thank you, everybody, for making it happen. For Joe. Go, Joe.